We spoke with Albert Bourla, Pfizer's chairman and CEO, and he talked an awful lot about how this is going to be distributed. He's got plans with doses that he will provide to different governments. But do governments, let's say, does the United States government have a plan for how this will roll out? I know you've talked about how it will go to the elderly first, maybe frontline healthcare workers. But is there a hard and set plan for how this will be distributed and who gets it?
Yeah, there is, and I just want to, sort of make one point, if I can, just acknowledging not just the patients and providers who entered this trial to make this result possible today, but really the hard work of the company. And Albert had a vision to try to do this, and really drove the company and invested enormous resources, Pfizer resources, in the development of this vaccine. And a lot of folks throughout this crisis have been working literally nonstop to try to make this possible. In terms of what the government's doing to try to distribute this, they've engineered a system, and Paul Mango, who works directly for Alex Azar, has been working on this for many months. This is going to be managed out of HHS in terms of making the supply available to the states, but the states are ultimately going to manage the distribution. So the way it's going to work is that they've built a system in HHS that is effectively like an IT system. And once they get the authorization from FDA, so let's say the FDA authorizes this, and this is hypothetical, but let's say FDA would say this is authorized for people 65 and above who have one or more comorbidities that might predict a bad outcome from COVID. That's the sort of clinical language that FDA would use. And then ACIP, which advises CDC, is going to make a more granular recommendation. That's the group that makes the recommendations on like what should be in the childhood vaccination schedule. They'll make a more granular recommendation that might go beyond just clinical criteria and might say something like, well, the first people who should get this might be people who are in institutional settings like long-term care facilities and nursing homes. So they'll come out with their own recommendations. Then HHS will take that recommendation, put it into their computer, and their computer is going to generate data on for the vaccine live within each state. And in every state will be apportioned a supply of the available vaccine based on those numbers. So let's say there's only 10 million doses available. And again, these are all hypothetical numbers. I just want to sort of give a generalization to illustrate the point. And Massachusetts has, 2 million or a million people who fit the criteria, but there's only 10 million doses. And so Massachusetts will get an allotment from that 10 million based on how many patients are in that state. So they might not get their full million because they're only going to get a fraction of what's available relative to based on their population relative to other states' populations of the eligible group.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.